Alright, what's up everybody? It's your boy YFE, and since I've delayed Alien vs Predator due to the fact that I'm literally going to cover all the media, so I need several days to do that, I've decided to put out a few bangers in the meantime. And this one, me and some members came up with last night, and it is Midnight Suns versus the Justice League Dark. And today I brought a member of the coffee shop here to kind of discuss it with me. We're going to do it discussion style. And if you guys like this video, if you hit 400 likes, we will do in-depth individual breakdowns on each matchup. So keep the likes up and you'll see it keep coming. But anyways, I'm going to let Lumos introduce himself and then he can go ahead and talk about the matchups, like what matchups we will be doing today.
What's up, guys? I'm Lumos Theromax, part of the coffee shop content creators, dude. It's pretty dope being here, and I'm really excited to start talking about some of these matchups. So, just as a quick rundown of these two separate factions. On one side, we obviously have the Justice League Dark, and on that side, we'll be having, actually, I tell you what, we'll be doing Zatanna versus Brother of Voodoo, just straight out the gate. Constantine versus Strange, really interesting matchup. Andrew Bennett versus Blade. Deadman versus Iron Fist. Ghost Rider versus Night Nurse, which is turning out to be a monster. Man Thing versus Swamp Thing. And Moon Knight versus Frankenstein.
Okay, so what I think we're gonna do is discuss them, what I guess would be least impactful battles at a time. That is like what battles would likely be. We'll do the big dogs last.
You just stomp out. Yeah,
Yeah.
just get stomped. Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously, like, Doctor Strange gets loose, he can beat up someone like a Frankenstein or a Bennett, you know. So we'll be discussing lower ones first and progressing. So first matchup, Andrew Bennett versus Blade. If you guys don't know who Andrew Bennett is, on the DC side, he's a vampire, actually like cursed at one point to contain Kane himself within him. And he does serve with the Justice League Dark. Actually does have some weird abilities, like he's shown, I believe, once or twice proficiency in backwards magic. He can reanimate the dead and has other dark spells, as well as being highly physically capable as a vampire. And then on the other side, of course, we have Blade, one of the most famous vampire slayers ever. Half vampire himself. It gives him basically all the good stuff for a vampire without the bad shit. He's also a highly skilled duelist, is incredibly gifted with his senses, is easily able to keep up with characters like Deadpool, Punisher, has beaten Doombots before all this, and is overall one of the most respected fighters in the street tier in Marvel. So, Lumos, what's your initial thoughts on this matchup?
I think Blade is offering a lot, but Andrew Bennett, I feel like, is just too much of a chunky boy, dude. I think he's a little bit he's just too tanky, I think, for Blade to really be able to put down.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think another aspect of the battle that makes it difficult for Blade is the hacks.
Yeah.
Um, he has, some dark magic and dark spells that could potentially impact Blade, whereas Blade's a brawler. He does have good tech, but nothing Bennett hasn't seen before. And I think it's problematic for Blade that Bennett has these dark spells at his disposal. And as a result of his better hacks and I'd say slightly better durability, I would give it to Bennett for this round. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you on that one, man. I mean, he's taking some pretty wild stuff, whether it's Blast from Apollo or Constantine, pretty consistently. So,
All right, so that's one win for the Justice League Dark. So moving on, we're gonna touch up on Iron Fist versus Frankenstein. It's a weird one. So Iron Fist obviously will be considering him at like mid to high end. He does have the potency with his fist to get the attention of Savage Hulk, make Scar yell, um, match the raw power of a Thor clone. Um, I mean, he does draw power from Shao the Undying, who's supposed to be in the same tier as the Phoenix. So having that, of course, and he's one of the greatest martial artists to ever walk the earth in Marvel Comics. And on the other side, you want to talk about Frankenstein?
Yeah, Frankenstein is a really interesting DC character. He was created by Shade a while back, and just has a lot of super abilities or he just has a lot of like augmented superhuman abilities, I think, more so than anything, allowing him to throw hands with characters like Superman, Bizarro, or like Solomon Grundy when he's like really pissed off. He can even have like one of his hearts torn out and just keep rolling, man. This guy's just a walking tank. He just wants to brawl, man. He wants to put the hands on you.
Yeah, he also like swapped hands with and kind of embarrassed Shazam at one point when they got into it. He also has a really good sword that has
Yeah,
shown
he
to
was
be
walking around
highly
with sort of
efficient.
Michael.
Yeah, and it's like capable of killing even immortals. So if these two clash, it's a weird one. I obviously think Iron Fist is a lot more skilled. Um, and his Iron Fist powers
Definitely.
would annoy um, Frankenstein, but I'm not convinced he puts him down before Frankenstein walks him down. I don't know. What do you think?
Just like runs him. I think that's the real big problem. I think it is absolute. If you just take like Iron Fist at his absolute most peak, you probably could make a few arguments. But for the most part, I mean, it looks like Frankenstein's just hanging out with the big boys, and Iron Fist definitely can be, but I don't think consistently it's that way.
Yeah, so it's currently 2-0 for the Dark with Frankenstein moving on. Frankenstein, okay, so we also need to address this. What level of injury do you think Frankenstein moves on with? I don't see him being too damaged or worn out.
No, and he doesn't. It doesn't really seem that he has like a lot of issues with taking like any crazy damage. I don't know. Maybe he loses an arm or something like that. But I don't think it would be anything too crazy severe.
What do you think about Bennett?
Ooh man, he could be pretty banged up. I think his fight with Blade is gonna go a little bit closer
I
than
think I
than
think it'll be low to mid, but I think by the time he gets involved in the next fight, um, he would be like healing himself.
yeah, yeah.
Next up, it's a weird one. Deadman versus um, Moon Knight with the power of Khonshu. We're not going to be considering like Avatar Moon Knight when he was like overpowering Thor and trapped cosmic Thor or whatever, like that weird line. But we're going to consider him with his split personalities, all three of them, which are really potent in their own right, and Khonshu himself in the mind of Moon Knight. I'm gonna go ahead and let Lumos speak on why that aspect might prove difficult for a DC character like Deadman.
So Deadman has got some of the best possession hacks in all of DC. He does some wild stuff, including possessing like Swamp Thing, the entire Green, Black Orchid. I mean, he's got a lot of good stuff going. But the problem is that Black Knight has Khonshu, that god, up inside his mind. Or he's three people inside his mind, and so and most of them are also crazy. So trying to deal with that oftentimes in DC just is never a good situation for DC characters. They always wind up just jobbing to crazy people in their minds. So three of them in one body, I feel like that's going to be a real uphill battle for Deadman to say the least.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I think what we can say is it would stalemate possibly for a while with dead man struggling, and worst case, who cares if he gets the body of Moon Knight? Not trying to, no disrespect to Moon Knight fans, but what's a wild Moon Knight gonna do to the rest of these people we're about to talk about? That's the issue.
I think his goal would just literally be just annoy people so other people can take advantage of the situation. And you're right though, like what exactly does Moon Knight do against, like, down the road, for example, Doctor Strange or whatever the case may be? It's like, okay.
Yeah, so it might get weird, because Moon Knight's level of crazy is like Joker type crazies. So yeah, it'd be weird. But we're gonna move on from that one and maybe revisit it when we talk about other characters and if Deadman would impact getting involved with those characters. Next matchup, I think we'll talk about Swamp Thing versus Man Thing. Let's get toxic.
Oh boy.
I'll throw out my um, initial thoughts just off the top. From what I know of both, early runs versus early runs, both are kind of jobbers. I remember reading Bronze Age Swamp Thing. I read that entire omnibus, and like sometimes he was in life and death situations with car crashes. Like the shit was ridiculous. So Man Thing might beat their early renditions, but then later on, I do believe most forms for several years of Swamp Thing would probably beat Man Thing. But Man Thing's fear hacks would be very problematic. And um, I do think at their highest, like Divine Creator Man Thing should slap the highest Swamp Thing, which would be obviously like be fully green amped Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
No, I'm 100% with you. I think both these guys have really high end stuff. It's honestly just kind of like you said. We've got one guy who just is a little bit more consistent, both magically as well as physically, in my opinion.
You know what? I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna reward what I believe is the more consistency, which would probably be Swamp Thing. Um, but if Man Thing gets any way to attack the fear part of Swamp Thing, any fears or horrors
If
he
he is
has in his
afraid.
mind, yeah, um, Swamp Thing might start burning. Uh, I think Swamp, because of consistency, takes it. I'd probably give it to him. If we looked at high end, it would be Divine Creator Man Thing. But I think I'm gonna give it. If we look at like moderation to moderation,
Yeah.
probably Swamp Thing. But he's gonna be burnt up, probably. So like mid diff, I'd probably say.
Agreed.
But just to let the Marvel people know, I do think high end Man Thing beats the shit out of Swamp Thing. So I just want that on the record. But moving on, let's address uh Ghost Rider versus Nightmare Nurse.
So
Um,
out of all of them, man, this is the one that I actually expected the least out of. But the more you and me discussed about it before we started, man, I felt like this one really started popping off. Like we were genuinely having some good conversation on this one.
yeah, it's I think sorry, Hairball. I think she beats Ghost Rider. I think she could potentially knock him out. But I think when she awakens Zarathos, it's another ball game. Um, Zarathos has overpowered before in stories with like Doctor Strange and stuff. Things that they couldn't overpower, like stuff that usurped the power of Doctor Strange, Thor, all of them. It had them, and Zarathos like broke out of it no problem. Zarathos is easily stronger than Mephisto. Mephisto, when he had domain over him and stuff and manipulated him, it was when Zarathos was heavily weakened. Um, I definitely think Nightmare Nurse can take a lot of hits from the Zarathos. She's taking hits from Spectre and stuff, but he is a vestige of like God's power. Um, this would be like Skyfather level, and Marvel. God isn't the one above all. The one above all scales above like the godhood tiers and pantheons like Christianity, Norse, all that. But being that strong, right? He's having that kind of power. He potentially can combat characters that can reshape creation or the multiverses. Um, Best thing I would say at that, concluding at that, is like Nightmare Nurse has like helped freeze the multiverse, temporality throughout all the multiverse. Um, but Zarathos has shown like competing with characters that can affect all the multiverses. So I think Zarathos can take it. But I don't think Ghost Rider, normal Ghost Rider, can beat her at all. I don't think he really fucks with her.
Yeah, I think it's gonna definitely take an amped version to kind of be messing with this chick. She's done some wacky stuff, including hold back, blight minions as well as destroyed beings of pure nothingness. So she's definitely not playing around to say the least.
Yeah, I definitely think it's mid to high diff for Zarathos, but I think once he comes out,
Agreed.
he'll be able to stop her. So, first official win for Marvel team. Midnight Suns get a W on the board with Zarathos moving on. Next up, we have Zatanna versus Brother Voodoo. I'll let you speak on this first, because my opinion might be controversial.
Okay, so Zatanna actually does do some pretty wacky stuff. I think a lot of people just look at her as like Dr. Fate light, but she does have a lot of interesting things unto herself, including fighting a lot of those like crazy blight beings and stuff before. But Brother Voodoo also has like that same kind of problem of being looked at as like Doctor Strange light, Sorcerer Supreme light as everyone else, kind of like with her. And I just feel like Voodoo does a little bit more consistent showings of just outdoing like the prior superhero that they're trying to live up to, their predecessor. And I think that's really evident by some of his feats.
Okay, look, I'm gonna keep it a bean with everybody. I think I think these two are some of the most underrated magic users in both verses. For sure. I think people sleep on Zatanna and people sleep on Voodoo for sure. With that being said, Sorcerer Supreme Brother Voodoo is beating her ass. I think like he was casually like flying through dimensions punching um
Is it Doom?
Doctor Doom. Yeah, and
Yeah.
Doctor that Doom had like Skyfather tier feats. Um and just doing that easily, I don't see Zatanna getting down like that. He's spazzed on Nightmare. Even Nightmare's like true form.
It's like a billion
It
times.
Yeah, it's absurd. Like Brother Voodoo is almost as potent as Strange, right? But the difference between him and Strange is Voodoo will do a lot of shit Strange won't do. And he'll tap into power sources Strange isn't as willing to or as comfortable. But that's Voodoo's game. So I think he beats her. I'm gonna be honest. I think he takes out Zatanna.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Voodoo low to mid is what I'm gonna put. All right. So Strange versus Constantine. I'll speak on this first because I've made this video before. Um, I think I was wrong about Strange losing to Constantine. I credited trickery, deceit, and surviving too much versus winning and beating people in combat and defeating high tier caliber foes. Truth be told, Constantine's a very powerful sorcerer. Exceptional hacks, luck, all that. But who's he really beat? Who's he really defeat outright? Ran from Darkseid, like a mother, like was sacrificing people to run from Darkseid. Like who's he actually outright just fight and beat? Whereas Doctor Strange is fighting everybody, even on the cosmic scale. He does not care. Pull up to his hood, If he's Sorcerer Supremus or Rapski, you're getting the hands in the classic era. Like, I think I was wrong. I think classic Strange is so comfortable against high tier magic for long periods of time. Doesn't run from direct combat, whether physical against high tier foes or just straight up a spell battle. I think he can beat Constantine.
I'm
And
I'm 100% with you, dude. And I think the thing with Constantine is a lot of times is he just gets other factions involved and then creates a war between those two factions and then kind of fights the winner of the war between those two factions. And that's not directly like a 1v1 by any means.
I think to kind of put ease to mind for this battle, I think Voodoo would move on to help Strange first if Strange was still going back and forth with someone. Because Voodoo's gonna look at it like, yo, whoever's pressing Strange is strong.
Yeah.
So I gotta get them up out of here. So regardless, I think the battle will go on long enough that Voodoo jumps in and jumps Constantine. So Strange and Voodoo move on. So here's how the field looks. Just going over real quick to kind of wrap up the final round of the battle. We have Frankie in it. We have Bennett. We have Deadman and Moon. We'll say Deadman as Moon Knight. We'll say he finally took Moon Knight. Swamp Thing, kind of burnt, kind of crispy. Verse Zarathos.
Yeah, Zerath was pissed.
Yeah,
Zerath is
pissed.
pissed right now.
Just got out of brawl. Voodoo and Strange. Okay, I'm gonna speak on this first. Bennett needs to go home. Deadman as Moon Knight, not doing anything. Deadman needs to
Yeah.
abandon that body and go for something else. But I think he would get sealed by either Voodoo or Strange at that point.
I mean, who's he gonna possess there?
Uh,
It's like
I don't know.
look at the monsters
Oh,
on the other side of the
Zarathos? Oh
team.
my god, yeah, no. They're
Like
not going for
he's
that.
worthless at this point in
Yeah.
time.
That's just rough. He's gonna get sealed. It's unfortunate. Or blasted, something. Swamp Thing easily can get cut off from his power source. Happens all the time with Constantine, like as a meme.
Yeah.
I think Voodoo or Strange would do the same thing. Not to mention he's just worn down at this point, so their powerful blasts might actually really wear him down and like then allow them to steal him or whatever. Nah, that team's Frankenstein. He's a tank, yeah, but what he's
He ain't gonna be able to 1v3.
gonna punch Zarathos?
Yeah,
Like
like no, it's not happening, man.
Nani? I don't know. Like that's tough. I think because of the two high tiers for Midnight Suns moving on, and Zarathos running loose, um, it'd be tough. Uh,
Yeah, I just don't see a situation where if this did happen in the way obviously we're discussing it, that the DC side's gonna pull a W here. I mean, Strange, Voodoo, and then Zarathos running around, man. That's a nightmare combo.
yeah. In the end, I think a lot of people sleep on Midnight Suns, but taking them, looking at all these characters at mid to high ends and stuff, not with their absolute outliers, but I think initially a lot of people favored Justice League Dark because they see Constantine leading the way with some heavy hitters, but when you knock off a couple of the big dogs, it turns into a different fight. And I think with that in mind, yes, in terms of more wins per round, technically, Justice League Dark won. But who would stand at the end of the day? Who would have the most survivors? It's gonna be the Midnight Suns. I'd favor them in that respect, so I would give the victory to Midnight Suns. Any last thoughts or anything?
No, it was honestly really fun, man, comparing these two specific teams. I think the Midnight Suns is a group that doesn't get enough attention or doesn't get enough love, especially with how powerful they are. So it's been a blast hanging out, guys. Definitely check out my channel down low and the coffee shop content creators, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah, check out Lumos content covering a lot of Lantern stuff right now, especially if you want the updated DC information. Check out his channel. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you want individual breakdowns of like deep analysis of each matchup we did, 400 likes and we'll run it back. But anyways, thank you guys for watching and we'll see y'all later. Peace.
Later.